What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk of the Tundra, your Green Bay Packers podcast as part of the Blue Wire family and the Eurostep podcast network. Coming back at you with some more Packers news after Minicamp is finished up is me, Numac, and my trusty co-host, Jordan Chesky. Jordan, how you doing, buddy?
Hello, I'm happy to be trusty.
Always trusty.
Always trusty.
Reliable, trusty. I can't think of other synonyms at this point, so we will stop there. um, After a little break last week, we are coming at you with all of the news out of Minicamp.
Let's just say it's mandatory minicamp, and it was mandatory that we had to have a podcast.
Mandatory. We had to podcast this week. If we didn't, we were going to get fined by the Packers. That's not true because that means we have to have a contract with the Packers, and I'll tell you when that happens.
Mark Murphy, please.
Please sponsor us. Mandatory minicamp was this week. They had practices on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then no practice today, Thursday. Instead, they went paintballing. Going back.
Also, wasn't today the gambling meeting?
No, I did not hear anything about that.
They had a meeting about anti-gambling because of all the incidents that keep happening.
Did anyone pipe up and say, hey, maybe we don't promote FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesar Sportsbook, Underdog Fantasy, or like the rest of them that are all on NFL Sundays?
It's what happens.
Apparently so. We won't talk about the Potawatomi Sportsbook opening up or the one on Oneida opening up. Good thing that the players who are visiting, as far as I remember when I lived up there, stay at the Oneida Radisson with the casino right downstairs that has a sportsbook now. So, hooray! Anywho's will be the Packers today went paintballing as a team building activity. I think that was like really the Mike McCarthy staple when he was head coach. They like always went paintballing for their minicamp activity.
It's either that or you smashing watermelons.
That too, like just a bunch of random stuff. So
God, if there is like one, we're off the rails.
We are off the rails already.
Minute 3. If there's like one scenario or situation that I wish I was in the room for, is Mike McCarthy just going hog wild, smashing watermelons like he's Gallagher 3 or something. I don't know.
You missed me with Gallagher 3, but I just want to see Mike McCarthy smash a watermelon.
Yeah,
big fan. But yeah, it looked like they had fun. Packers posted all over social media and such with smiling faces and AJ Dillon peppered with some yellow paintballs and such. But looked like it was fun. So, should we use that as a jumping out point? Should we talk about AJ Dillon first? He kind of had some big news come out this week.
Yes, let's do it.
AJ Dillon, shout out Ty. He had a very funny tweet this week. Came out on Monday that he wants to be a Packer for life, and I guess I'll just read the quote that he told the people over at Pro Football Talk. Quote, I love Green Bay. Green Bay knows that. I love the Packers. The Packers know that. I'd play here until I can't run anymore. I'll pick up a long snapper or whatever it is when I start slowing down. But there's only so much I can control. My biggest thing is having the mindset that I'm going to come in here and keep doing my thing. So Ty's tweet saying that AJ Dillon's agent is just in shambles right now. Pretty much saying that he's willing to stay in Green Bay and not really search for a competitive contract is the joke there. But not really a surprise given for the honorary mayor of Door County and just how much he has embraced Northeast Wisconsin and the Green Bay community.
Yep. I mean, I was at a Brewers game this year and I saw AJ Dillon there, and he's having the time of his life. He's a Wisconsin native. Obviously, it is kind of an interesting situation with the running back room between Dillon and Aaron Jones. Of like Aaron Jones continuously wants to be a Packer and has pretty much dedicated that. It's up to Packers to see if they want to do that with AJ Dillon now that he's going into a contract year.
Mm-hmm.
And last year was disappointing, obviously, but even his I want to pull up this quote. The running backs coach, Ben Sermons, said part of the reason why he thought AJ Dillon was not as good as last year was he was as aggressive enough as a runner, as we've seen in years past. So it's interesting context behind his performance and everything like that. And yeah, it's a big year for him. I'm not surprised that he doesn't want to move or anything like that. But
Right.
yeah,
I think that's pretty much spot on too. Um, is that he played well last year, just really didn't have it. It kind of seemed,
yeah,
and if that's kind of how the running backs coach saw it, they know about it. They can work on it, and I think AJ Dillon recognizes that that's going to be a little bit more of a focus for him this year to have success and to be able to stay in Green Bay for as long as he wants, essentially.
yeah.
Yeah, I would think he has ample opportunity to be running back two for the longest time, like for like the foreseeable future, depending on how. I can't think of his name. The backup, the third stringer. It's in my brain. I just can't think of his name. Anyways, there aren't a lot of backups there right now that are really going to push him the way I think he would get pushed to be able to get pushed out. I think the biggest thing for him is just making sure he's back to that 2021 performance level, essentially, because I think it's more likely Tyler Goodson is the person I was thinking of, and Patrick Taylor. That was the other one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
I think the more likely scenario is one of those two players, if they're doing very well, not usurping, but replacing Aaron Jones, should Aaron Jones get priced out of his contract or anything like that, essentially. Who was the Packers' like 6th round draft pick this year, the running back?
Lou Nichols.
Yeah, he's another like power back, so he could have a chance. Like if he somehow shows up and does really well at training camp, that could be possibly an option to replace AJ Dillon next year. But I don't think that's really a big option unless the Packers just choose not to bring AJ Dillon back for money reasons and things like that. But they'll have a little bit more room next year, given they'll be off of Rodgers' contract as well.
Yeah.
So it does feel good to know that he loves Green Bay and Wisconsin as much as he says publicly, even though, again, this is still a public comment, but I think it's just consistent with it all. And also, I have to make sure, not a Wisconsin native, but is now a honorary Wisconsinite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
I did know what you mean, but I was like, there's no way, right? Like we would have had to have heard about this. From the great state of Connecticut, the little small one.
A little small one.
Yep, he's an oxymoron. Big man living in a little state.
Quadzilla. Yeah, he's a big quad fish in a small pond.
This stain ain't big enough for the both of us. It's AJ Dillon and his dad pointing to each other.
Your quad's got to get out of here.
All right, moving off further off the rails. This week on Tuesday, Adrian Amos signed with the New York Jets. So there goes the option for the Packers to bring him back as a free safety. My question for you, Jordan, is how many touchdowns do you think Adrian Amos catches this year?
Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
Good old friend.
The news being is just that option has now gone away for the Packers. They'll be not stuck, but they'll have Darnell Savage, Rudy Ford, and others to fill in that safety spot.
A very unproven, not unproven.
I think the only one that is quote unquote proven is Darnell Savage.
Savage.
Yeah. And then I think is it Jonathan Owens, that's his name, right? The
yes.
fella that's married to Simone Biles. Third string safety for them that they just signed a couple months ago. So
yeah, it's gonna be inferior is probably too strong of a word.
I guess use it and we'll see.
Yeah, it's just it's lackluster.
Untapped potential is the homer pod we have here.
Glass. Yeah, I know, glass half full.
Yeah,
possibly. It I don't know, but it feels very just like, oh, I have no idea
right
what to expect with that position group. And of course, Amos the longer that he was out there available, and there were some whispers, and not whispers, but Kuntz had said as much that we're never going to close the door on anybody.
Yeah, same thing
But
they said with Mason Crosby.
yeah,
Same thing they said with a lot of the
Aaron
offseason
Rodgers.
with the offseason departures this year is where I was going. Like most of the impact players that have left or have not resigned, we kind of heard that sentiment come from the front office.
Yeah. Um,
What'd you say?
he had to go to the team
Yeah,
that is just racking up.
it's
I cannot.
Packers East.
It's it is insane to me to go from the fresh coast to the East Coast.
Fresh coast to the East Coast. Has
Yeah,
Mercedes Lewis signed with anybody?
no, he's not. Neither him or Crosby are have signed with
Yeah,
any.
but Randall Cobb, right, has signed.
He has signed with the Jets.
Yeah, and so has Alan Lazard.
Alan Lazard.
And then I think that was it.
They made
Besides,
that trade for Aaron Rodgers.
we can't
Jets.
talk about it no more.
Well, I'm just saying they did it.
Right. They traded for a quarterback.
They traded for a quarterback. Adrian Amos.
That's what.
We're missing another Packer that went there.
Are we sure? Let's check. It's not Bobby Tunyon. He went to the Bears.
Oh, I might be Billy Turner. I think went there. He didn't play there for the Packers last year, but he went there, I believe.
Right. Went there, I think 2-3 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Let's just double check. But I think, I'm pretty sure that's right. Adrian
Tim Boyle.
Amos. Yuck. Adrian Amos. Yeah. That's all I'm seeing. Yeah, you're right. That Billy Turner did sign along with Randall Cobb, pretty much back-to-back days. But Billy Turner didn't come from
Not straight from
didn't
Green
come from
Bay.
the Packers. But yeah, that was it. So interesting. All right, we can move on. It was just
All right.
needed to talk about it. This week was the first time that the Green Bay media had heard from Rashawn Gary since he had tore his ACL against the Lions last year, and he had some things to say. He gave I shouldn't say he had some things to say. He talked to the media. It was a good interview, but he didn't really clue in the fans or the media into his status. This is from Ryan Wood. Rashawn Gary is giving zero details on when he expects to be ready for football, specifically regarding week 1. He'll be ready when he's ready, he says, but Gary makes clear that he's feeling good, would not say he's able to run or cut yet, only that he's moving in a straight line. So, I guess taking that at face value, he's progressing, doing well. But I think maybe his unwillingness to say if he can run or cut would lead me to believe he's not being able to run or cut. So, I guess good that he's progressing. We're still about 3 months away from opening week, so still a lot of time for recovery.
Yeah, I feel a lot better with his comments and just where he is at versus Eric Stokes and how we focus on that the last couple of pods.
Right.
Definitely, even if he's limited in some ways when the season begins, having a Rashawn Gary that plays 45% of snaps or fewer is still incredibly helpful for this team.
Yeah.
So
kind of like how Bakhtiari came back, sort of was.
Yes. Alan Jenkins last year too.
Yeah, was kind of brought back and played a little bit in his first game. Kind of sat a couple games or a game or two, and then came back and stuff like that. Just kind of easing him into it. So we'll see how it goes. Notably, Rashawn Gary said he was stunned that he tore his ACL in Detroit last year. He said after playing 3 snaps and left to go get the injury looked at in the locker room, quote, completely surprised when doctors told him the ACL was torn. So unfortunate that it kind of happens, and goes to show that not all of these knee injuries are catastrophic and traumatic that we see, and they kind of just happen. Like I think Jordy Nelson is another one that reminds me of that in that preseason game against the Steelers. Just one wrong cut, and that kind of does it. So, but good to see that he's progressing. Definitely going to need him this year on the edge. Getting ahead of myself, getting into minicamp news, but with Rashawn Gary out, Justin Hollins has been taking the snaps with the ones. along with Preston Smith off the edge. And he's been doing real well apparently. From like some of the roundups that were going through. I think this one was written by Paul Brettel. I'm trying to find the
Packers Wire.
yeah, from Packers Wire. Let's see. This is yeah. He has a cheap cap hit, only 155,000, but I think given what we had just talked about, and that Rashawn Gary might not be able to start the season, and if he does, it might be in a limited role. Justin Hollins taking reps with the ones and doing really good with that, I think is really good for the Packers because as we talked about in our postseason podcasts, he just was doing so well in Gary's absence that it really doesn't make any sort of sense to have him not make the team. So I'm pretty confident Justin Hollins is making the team because he was also just a stud on special teams as well.
Yeah, last year, I mean, he made an instant impact
Instant
after getting
impact.
waived. Yeah. And that obviously was post Gary injury too. So, but yeah, I mean, even considering where Gary's at on his timeline, you have Van Ness, you have Enigbari, you have obviously Preston Smith,
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Garvin's. We'll see.
Yeah,
He might be Dunzo.
might be.
Um,
Especially with like if Holland stands out in training camp, yeah, it might just be
yeah. Am I missing any other like pass rusher person?
off the edge. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Um, but yeah, I mean, it sounds like he's just continued what he's done for the last couple of weeks of the last season that's carried over into this
Mm-hmm.
summer, which very good to hear.
Right. No, absolutely. Just double checking to make sure you're not missing anybody.
Plus,
But
too,
I don't think so.
it makes sense that I think Justin Hollins was with the Rams for a while.
He was. He was.
So I would assume Joe Barry has coached him before.
Mm-hmm. What was I gonna say? Oh,
Oh,
stats
yeah.
stats on Justin Hollins last year. This is again from Paul Brettel. After Rashawn Gary went down and Justin Hollins was signed, he ranked 26th in Pro Football Focus's pass rush win rate metric and 27th in the run stop rate. So for a guy they signed off the street, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good numbers.
So maybe sort of the situation Brian Gutekunst found with Russell Douglas and Devondre Campbell, where they just find guys that are underperforming and make them fit their scheme and become sort of very important role players on this defense. Like I think Justin Hollins has quite the opportunity to do something like that. Should Rashawn Gary take longer to get back than expected, or just fill in the gaps where he needs to. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think something like an injury would have to happen, or I think Preston Smith would have to have a really down year for Justin Hollins to usurp the starting spots off the edge. But having a guy like that on the bench is a very good situation for the Packers to be in, D line wise.
Yeah. Same.
Should we get into Jair, get into the minicamp news and performances and things
Ooh.
like that?
This might be a little meaty part of the pod.
It will. It will be certainly meat. There's a lot. There's a lot of meat on this bone. Um, so Jair met
Hog
with
wild on a chicken leg right now.
Jair Alexander met with the media and kind of opened up about last season, and I guess we'll start with the news, quote unquote. Passed on $700,000 to by not practicing during minicamp. He showed up to avoid getting fined, but did not participate in the practices. Jokingly saying that it would take probably around 10 million for him to actually practice during mandatory minicamp. So take that as you will. But Jair was talking with the media and said that he's been in Green Bay since the season ended. He never went like quote unquote home, and has been here through last season. Will stay through in Green Bay through training camp. He talked about how he likes going into Lambeau and just being there by himself and having his own time, running cardio on the stairs. Like that's a legitimate thing he does, and just having time to work on his game. So, I guess first things first. Do you have a problem with Jair missing? Minicamp.
No,
I
no.
I don't want to sound hypocritical because we ragged on Rodgers for it, but I think that's two vastly different sides of the ball. Like it's very different if Rodgers doesn't practice in all the practices he can with rookie receivers versus Jair not getting reps in against Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs.
I think it's contextual too. I mean,
Yeah,
it's yeah, like it kind of comes with the territory of being a quarterback that's playing with new wide receivers.
yeah.
You know, it's
Nothing really
it's
changed on the defensive side for him.
yes,
Like no,
and I don't. I mean, we'd have to go back. This is pre-pod, pre-start of Talk of the Tundra, but
yeah,
I don't even know if Jair was at it last year.
yeah. I forget.
Um, but yeah, I'm not. Like, I can't really
And I think it helps that he was
fault him.
positive during. Like he met with media. He was visible, not visual. He was visible in like
Yeah,
um, on the sideline talking with Jordan Love. He was Jordan Love, which he talks about with the media is that he loves like just chirping at Jordan Love, Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson, because it gets his competitiveness up, but also the receivers knowing that they can take it and that they deserve to take it because they can perform at the level that he's going to. He talked about doing that with Devontae Adams because Devontae Adams is one of the greatest receivers in the world. He needed that motivation to get up and press him and basically defend Devontae Adams. And he thinks that Christian Watson and Dobbs can be sort of that level of receivers where they're going to need to be that good for this team to be good. And that's how he's motivating them to be the best receiver they can be against one of the best cornerbacks in the league in him.
yeah, yeah.
He admitted to taking it personally when he lost the captaincy last year. I guess a great way to earn the captaincy back would probably be to practice in a practice, but we'll leave that alone. He'll probably get the captainship again this year because the person who took it from him last year is Adrian Amos, and
Yep.
he's gone. So Kenny Clark and Devondre Campbell returning, so they'll have two of the three most likely, and then likely Jair as well, considering it doesn't really make sense for anyone else to have it in that secondary. You know what I mean? Like unless you go to Razul, and then we're gonna have a problem. Not that Razul's bad, but if you're giving it to Razul over
No,
Jair,
it would speak of something that
we don't know about.
yeah, because I mean
Even if they have the players still pick the captaincy,
that's what I was about to ask. Is that a player's thing or is it a coach's thing?
right? Because we don't know who is gonna pick it this year. I think we had talked about last year throughout the season that we thought it was kind of dumb that the players pick the captains because it just makes it's what's the tennis term? Earned errors, right? Like faults. You're just forcing faults
Yeah,
within the team, and you're creating divisions within the team that aren't necessary. Because
yeah,
if you're Jair Alexander, who is famously a sort of loud and sort of eccentric personality, and kind of wears emotions on his sleeve, as much as it is a good thing, it's a bad thing. If your teammates don't believe in you to be a captain, are you going to be motivated to be the best sort of cornerback you can be? I don't think he was unmotivated last year. I just think with the culmination of how bad the defense was last year at the beginning of the year, it certainly didn't help that was probably in the back of Jair's brain.
yeah. I mean, it was just. I mean, he was named an All Pro
Yeah.
last year, right?
Mm, I don't know. Let me
He
double check.
eventually went to um. There was some yeah. He was a Pro Bowl pick. I know that. I know that's not All Pro.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it was just
Second team
we
All
harped
Pro.
on a second team All Pro, and we harped on it not being a good year
Yeah.
by his standards, which again, very high,
Yeah.
lofty, all that stuff. But it did like that sowed the seeds for like just kind of what was frankly just like not erratic, but it felt like he was very much on his own island
Yeah.
in terms of just it's like where's your Jair at this week kind of thing.
Yeah. And not a good
So
island like Darrell Revis. His own island and
no, yeah,
kind of like lost at sea.
yeah. Um, yeah, I hopefully it's everything's kind of refocused and maybe just the new rejuvenated roster playing with a lot of youngsters and everything like that. It
Yeah,
kind of refocuses and reshapes the overall vibe of the team, and obviously Alexander because we're gonna need him.
right,
We're gonna need a lot of them.
right. For what it's worth, I think it's encouraging to see all the videos that I did see during minicamp and like how cheery Jair was. Like he was
Yeah,
definitely around. He was hanging over Jordan Love's shoulder, telling him to stop trying him in practice and whatnot. Like because I think he tried him in the OTAs a couple weeks ago and other practices throughout the season. And so he's just telling him already, quit throwing at me because I'm better than you think I am, kind of thing. So it's just good competitive nature and like good teammate competitiveness that way. So it's good to see he's in good spirits, unlike a receiver in Buffalo at the moment, or some other players around the league. So I'm glad. I'm as we said
that
last
is
as we said last pod. I'm happy we're kind of drama free right now. It makes for a fun off season, despite we're entering the thick of it now.
when I saw that this week was like mandatory minicamp. I was like, okay, I just don't want to be that team that has like
People
weird
not show up.
drama.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean the Bills literally canceled practice Thursday
yeah.
because of all the weird stuff that's
They just
going
couldn't
on.
find
So
Stephon Diggs. Not that they couldn't find him. He's just not showing up to practice.
yeah,
So we'll see. We'll see. But we won't see the Packers because no drama. Drama free summer. This is a hot Packers summer. Last thing on Jair, was bummed to see Jerry Gray leave, which we had talked about, I think, 2-3 weeks ago, whatever that pod was, and that we weren't really too moved by the Jerry Gray move, just for the sole purpose of if Jerry Gray is making your decisions on like where players are playing and telling that to Eric Berry, or not Eric Berry, to Joe Barry about alignments and things like that. I'm not so high on him. Like, I just didn't think the loss was going to be as impactful as any other coach leaving. So we'll see that this season. But if you're taking Jared at his word for it, it might have a bigger impact than maybe we are understanding it right now.
yeah.
But I'm still not losing sleep over losing Jerry Gray, even though
No, because
Jair might. I'm not.
yeah, we can see. We'll soon see how things are different, and maybe a new voice kind of lifts the team out of what it was last year, the last couple of years, defensively.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Continuing down through sort of minicamp news. Malik Heath, undrafted free agent that the Packers signed, is showing out as much as you can as the undrafted free agent, making a lot of nice catches with the twos and threes with between Danny Etling and Sean Clifford. So Malik Heath, SEC, I think Ole Miss, yeah, Ole Miss was where he went and racked up the stats there, and he impressed a lot of the Packers beat. Essentially, there was a lot of people talking about just sort of how well he was showcasing his talents with the twos and the threes, and we'll see if that he makes his way into some starting lineups essentially during training camp.
Coming off a senior year at Ole Miss after transferring there, 60 catches, 971 yards, 5 touchdowns, averaged 16.2 yards per catch, which kind of shows that, he was very quick to air it out
Mm-hmm.
and making big plays,
Right.
chunk plays, all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, obviously it kind of wows you to see a undrafted free agent line up with the ones and make as strong of an impression as he did.
Mm-hmm.
So might be worth checking out. I believe too, Paul Bradle of the Packers Wire noted too that Grant DuBose has not yet practiced because he has an
Yep.
undisclosed injury. So it kind of might, if he kind of continues this as we near training camp and then praise season.
Right.
Who knows? Maybe he's the fifth or sixth wide receiver on this team. We'll see.
I think it was Paul Brother that wrote that. Yeah, and he had talked
Yeah.
about how the Packers often only keep 5 receivers on their roster, And so if we go down the lineup right now, it's Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, Samari Toure, Jaden Reed, and Dontavion Wicks. Their fourth round pick, I believe it was, fourth or fifth. And so that'd be their five right now. But then, as we mentioned, seventh round pick Grant DuBose is still waiting in the wings as well to start practicing. And Paul had mentioned as well that the Packers generally like to keep their picks over not keeping their picks.
Yes.
And so that could be sort of what, not the decision per se, like the decision maker. I think it'll be that part of the decision joint with how well they can play on special teams, because they always need to be improving on special teams. And like that is a pretty solid spot for a sixth wide receiver to be making an impact is on special teams. So between just general contributing to the offense, if either one of DuBose or Heath can really be effective as gunners or blockers on punts, anything like that, is really, I think, where they're going to have a chance to make the team, if they make the team, if they keep five receivers. Or six, if they keep six receivers, my apologies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get. It's very easy to get swept up on people that are performing on the field versus someone that is clearly not practicing.
You don't gotta come at me like that with Micah Abernathy.
I don't know. I'm not trying to pour cold water, but it is
my heart.
Your heart. Give me a Heath bar. Sorry, no sponsors.
Love a Heath bar.
Yes, you do. But this is the start of these battles,
right?
You know,
this is like this stuff that
the next 2 months, 3 months of our time and energy.
This is the stuff that like football sickos really get up for.
Yes,
and like I'm a football fan through and through.
This is how I remember scouring the Journal Sentinel when it was cut down day, and you're looking at all the names that got cut when I was young.
Yeah.
Not this. I'm an old. But I would see the names of from all the teams in the league. I'm like, that guy got cut. What? Right. So I was like, and then of course there'd be a lot of like undrafted or lower level drafted picks that got cut too. But this is that time of the year.
Yeah. I'm not a football sicko. I'll pay attention to it and I'll keep looking at training camp videos and everything when that comes around. But just like college football sickos, I just can't. Some of this stuff I just don't have the brain capacity to really be hemming and hawing over.
Yeah.
Which is which is different from how I was last year with like Abernathy. But I think that's just because we needed sort of someone like him at the safety position.
Yeah.
Like,
kind of still do.
Receiver, I'm not too concerned about. Like,
yeah.
At this point, Grant DuBose and Malik Heath aren't going to be huge contributors as opposed to maybe Micah Abernathy was this season because of their lack of experience at safety. So, shan't we move on? I'm pretty sure it's the wrong word, but just the word that came to my brain. Talking about the third running back in Patrick Taylor or Tyler Goodson. It's not Patrick Taylor anymore. I think Patrick Taylor is gone. But mainly Tyler Goodson. I think he is. I thought he was. Let me double check the depth chart. Just in case. Patrick Taylor is around. He is around. Weirdly enough, Tyler Goodson isn't listed on the Packers depth chart on ESPN. But as we talked about, Tyler Goodson, Patrick Taylor, Lou Nichols, all sort of going to be fighting for that third running back spot. I don't think they roster 4. That'd be a real big shock if they rostered 4. But another way for them to contribute again is just on special teams. I'm trying to see who wrote this article. I think it was Paul Brettel again. Shout out Paul. Talking about Tyler Goodson showcasing his playmaking abilities during minicamp. With the ball in his hands, Goodson displayed very good vision and the ability to make defenders miss with excellent bursts. Was also very smooth as a pass catcher and took some slot snaps. So again, if he could just be an explosive player, that's great. And making players on the Packers defense miss is good. Like, Packers have some good tacklers between Quay Walker and some of that, because they weren't down all of their starters. I think it was just Um, I think it was just Jair and somebody else. I think it was Razul was the other one. Yeah, Razul and Jair are the only ones not to um, like practice that held out of practice essentially. So Kenny Clark practiced and a few other ones practiced as well.
Um, Continuing from Packers Wire reporters, Zach Cruz noted that Aaron Jones called out Tyler Goodson as being a weapon for them,
Hmm.
which another obviously showcasing what he can do and could be pushing Patrick Taylor for that third running back spot or Lou Nichols too. So yeah, be very interesting to watch how that unfolds.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, obviously Jones and Dillon are the focus, but we've seen how it is of just like the other quote too. I saw again, not to keep name checking Ben Sermons, the running backs coach, but he did say that special teams will heavily influence
Yep.
who they go with the third running back spot,
Right.
which Patrick Taylor has held down for a while, but maybe Tyler Goodson he continues to push him and
Maybe.
so much so off the roster. So we don't know.
Yeah. I'm. I think Lou Nichols is like an exciting guy. One of the guys I probably will watch in camp. Just watching some of his tape after the draft. Um, just gonna be curious as to how they handle that with between him and AJ Dillon. Like, I think we're at the point now where if we have enough of Patrick Taylor, we have enough of Tyler Goodson. Maybe Lou Nichols is the third running back next year. If neither one of them make significant strides, like maybe they do bring back Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, and Lou Nichols next year. But this we're getting way ahead of ourselves. But I think it's just a curious situation for the Packers, given that Tyler Goodson is showing off in minicamp that he's got some pretty helpful tools to be a good player on offense. But that Patrick Taylor did also really good last year when he had his opportunities towards the end
Mm-hmm.
of games and things like that. But then they draft Lou Nichols, and it's just like, of course, not all these guys pan out. That's just kind of the given, and that's where the push comes to shove on who you're going to keep, and just in general. But I don't know. I'm excited because I like the way Lou Nichols ran in his college tape, and I like the way Patrick Taylor ran last year when he got the ball in his hands. But if we're taking sort of face value reporting from Paul Bretto and the rest of the beat, Tyler Goodson showing out now. So it'll be an interesting battle throughout training camp, and I think wherever the other one ends up between Patrick Taylor and Tyler Goodson, I think they'll probably have a good role this season if they all perform during training camp. Like obviously, if Tyler Goodson or Patrick Taylor fall off during training camp, they'll probably just float around somewhere. But I think that'll be a really tough decision for the front office to make if they both do well in training camp, because they both have some pretty significant talent to be able to help the team in an emergency situation, as well as the sort of like gadget guys in certain packages. So
Yeah, I agree.
good, good. I'm glad we're in agreement. In agreement. I almost said agreements because I am tired, people. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we missed. We can go through the takeaways, but I think that might be getting a little bit into it.
Into the
Anders
weeds.
Carlson went 11 for 12.
Oh
So
yes, yeah.
say what you will. Oh, we got to talk about Luke Musgrave too. We got Anders Carlson, the power of Luke Musgrave, dude. Oh my god.
Anders Carlson is going to be very important.
He will be very important. We'll talk about that in a second. Or talk about Luke Musgrave in a second. But yeah, Anders Carlson, 11 to 12 with a longest attempt coming from 54 yards, and I believe it was laid out somewhere about his kicks. I think he went 6 for 6 on Wednesday and 5 for 6 on Tuesday. But here we go. He was 6 for 6 on the day on Wednesday, longest of 42, and was 5 for 6 on Tuesday with his long being a 54 yards, but that was inside the Hudson Center. That was not an outside practice. So
Hmm.
yeah, hopefully he keeps that up. That's some good distance. I'd like to see him go a little farther, but he is a rookie and hasn't had a full offseason of training and weight training and things like that,
Yeah,
like strength and conditioning. So,
yeah.
but 54 from a dome, I can deal for now. But
You could do that
like
in
that's like half
Minnesota.
the reason we were trying to like moving on from Mason Crosby, right? Is like leg strength. So
Yeah,
if we're gonna move on to Anders Carlson, I'd like the leg strength to be there, essentially.
yeah.
So okay. Now let's talk about the rookie, the other important rookie, Luke Musgrave, standing out in practice a whole bunch. Matt LaFleur talked about. He had a quote that was snazzy, but I cannot remember it. His not uniqueness, because that's not the right word.
I think I have it right here.
Go ahead.
Um, he was talking about how the rookie is quote unquote different after seeing him perform during the few OTA practices. He has an elite trait that he can flat fly. He's a really intelligent player. If he makes a mistake, he hasn't made many of the same mistakes twice because he's super into it. Very intentional, deliberate about his work, invested. He continues to show progress every day. Was that the quote?
Yes, but basically he's different. He's built diffy.
He's built different. Musgrave, Luke Tough.
I don't know if you said it, but looked fast and like just strong and fast from everyone that was there, basically covering the training, the mini camp.
Yeah. Of the few clips that I've seen of him, it's incredibly palpable and easy to see on the screen, which is
Yeah,
like it's not like Robert Tunyon wasn't that in some ways, but he's like an old fashioned tight end. Like Luke Musgrave, you know, I try not to get excited, but I ooh, I love a good tight end that can just run down the middle of the field and make plays like that. So
up the seam,
well,
all that kind of stuff. Like that's,
mm-hmm.
I think one of the bigger takeaways as well um, from minicamp was Jordan Love was had some good moments, had some not so good moments, but he was playing a lot up the seam and was having a lot of good passes over the middle, which is sort of what we were screaming about last year to get stuff over the middle going. And it's really encouraging to see that Jordan Love is picking that up right away so that they can get some of these guys that have the speed and the ability to catch balls over the middle. The just getting the ball to them more often. Like Luke Musgrave is doing really well in camp. He hasn't played NFL snap yet, but he's been doing well in camp catching balls over the middle. Same thing with like sending Jaden Reed, who's had a quiet camp for a quiet mini camp, according to these reporters. But same thing, like these guys are fast. Like Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson, and Jane Reed are all fast. Same thing with Luke Musgrave. But like get these guys open over the middle and let Christian Watson streak down the side if he's not going over the middle. Like there's a lot of opportunity for for this offense, and hopefully they take take firm grasp of it.
Firmly grasp it. Lightning
Firmly
McQueen.
grasp it.
I want to go fast. Lightning McQueen style, you know?
Did you see the tweet from Zach Cruz today? Jordan Love and Aaron
So
Jones both said it this week, says Zach Cruz. This Packers offense is fast, very fast. Everyone is learning on the fly, but they'll do it at 100 miles per hour. So maybe a lot of hurry up, maybe just a lot of quick people. You
are you
look.
telling
Go
are
ahead.
you telling me that we're not gonna have the play clock run down to one and a big
For you listeners,
Sorry, that was a visual joke. That was bad.
Jordan
I
pantomimed a frustrated timeout call from the line of scrimmage.
that might be a
And no,
clip
like
on social.
just maybe, just maybe.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like I think like the most notable like fast-paced offense that I can think of just off the top of my head at 10:44 at night is like Chip Kelly's Philadelphia Eagles offense. Like that was a really fast offense, and Chip Kelly himself just always ran a hurry up offense. Having something like that, I think, would be good with this team, with them being young. When you run a hurry up offense, you have more chances to catch the defense slipping because they're tired and they're running at the offense's pace, as well as just letting the team get into a rhythm. Like with a young team, you don't want to give the defense so many looks and such long looks at the offensive like presets before you run plays and things like that. And so I think having a hurry up offense with a young quarterback and with a bunch of guys who are fast, like the Packers are, or Packers are having these rookies and these young guys, probably a good idea. I think that's going to be something to watch throughout the season. The biggest thing will just be execution. Like, you can't run a hurry up offense without having positive plays, essentially. If you're throwing incomplete passes, if you're getting losses of downs on run plays, things like that, hurry up offense kind of goes stagnant, becomes just a regular offense. So we'll see. Hopefully that is something that we can sort of track. 'Cause I think it's been a while since we've seen like a true hurry up offense in the Packers. Probably like early tens Packers teams were like a little faster like that, but they weren't blitz. They weren't like blitzkrieging like the Chip Kelly Eagles offensive team was
Yeah.
around that same time.
Yeah.
Sweet, 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 sweet. Talked about Luke Musgrave. I think Tucker Kraft did practice a little bit, but wasn't too much. Wasn't practicing too much. I think he was barely there for OTAs a couple weeks ago. We do need to talk about the offensive line. Zach Tom taking snaps all over the place. Right tackle, right guard, and center. Right tackle switching off with the ones a little bit, although he didn't start there, but was taking snaps at right guard and right tackle and center with the twos and threes. So, I guess, where do you want to see him kind of play? Like, where do you think he starts just with this mini camp? And I guess, what is your,
I think they're.
shortened prediction?
I think he's going to be right tackle.
I think he is too. I think him and Yash might have like a platoon going through training camp, and I think he ends up getting that job.
And I just don't think they're really going to upset the apple cart with, Josh Myers not starting.
Yeah.
Or John Runyon. Yeah, I mean, like he's very amiable, versatile, obviously, and then he can play different positions, but still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't see like a radical change. Especially because I just think if you're talking about your five best linemen, then obviously it's to some debate.
Right.
I think that's your five best right there. And just
who do you think
the
nature of the season? Bakhtiari, Jenkins, Myers,
Runyon,
and Tom.
Yeah.
I would probably agree with that.
I
think that's the best offensive line to start the season, depending on how Myers performs.
And then the nature of the season is gonna you're
gonna have injuries, you're gonna have kind of switching around. So, and I think it's not even a bad thing that like because they'll keep Josh Diamond regardless, whether or not he starts is the question. So if say Josh Myers just isn't cutting it at center and they throw Zach Tom there, then you could just throw last year's right tackle right there back in his spot and kind of pick up where they left off. I don't think Yash is the long-term answer. He's obviously only here for this season, being a restricted free agent this past offseason. But I don't think it's worth like committing the spot to him just because of that either.
Yeah.
So, okay. Couple looks of different interior defensive linemen lineups with Devontae Wyatt, TJ Slayton, and Colby Wooden being sort of the line without Kenny Clark when Kenny Clark had to step up for a few snaps. So it'll be interesting to see. I think the starting lineup was Kenny Clark, TJ Slayton, and Devontae Wyatt. So I think that'll be something to watch as well through training camp is all of the combinations they're going to throw at the interior defensive lineman because interior defensive linemen can't play every snap. It's very rare for that to happen. So whether they call on Colby Wooden, that could be an option. He was one of their draft picks this past spring. We'll just kind of see. It's going to be an interesting sort of shuffling around of how they play that position and how many players they keep there. I probably think they'll keep at least 4, maybe 5.
Plus, I think Carl Brooks has gotten some, if not this week, he's gotten some, good marks on his own too over the last couple of weeks with OTAs and everything like that. So
right.
Yeah, like every position group, there is like something interesting with every battle, and that's gonna as the whittling down nears.
Plus, they have Jonathan Ford, notably not Rudy Ford. Jonathan Ford, same guy, 2 different spots. He was picked. He was picked this year last year in the 7th round as well. So we'll see just sort of how all those battles play out over the course of the training camp and preseason for that
Yeah.
matter. So, alrighty. I don't think we missed really any. We did talk about linebackers, but there wasn't really any news out of linebackers. It's kind of just Devondre Campbell and Quay Walker vibing. Isaiah McDuffie is the three. That was really the only news there. They did have an interesting lineup that they rolled out in minicamp where they ran five linemen, Quay, and five secondary players, which is an interesting formation, we'll say, scheme. So yeah, three down linemen, two edge
Bill
rushers.
Barry is on one.
What is he cooking? It is smoking in the
Probably
kitchen.
it's probably I don't know. What's a Joe Barry food item?
Buttered toast. I don't know. Nothing extravagant. That's for sure.
It's
Pork and beans. It's it's nothing Michelin star rated. That's for sure.
no. No.
Grilled cheese with like lukewarm tomato soup. I don't know, dude. It's nothing.
The borscht. That was a
Sure.
good borscht.
All right. I think that's it. I think we're. I think we've reached our the end of our rope on this episode. Thank you all for listening. You know what time it is. It's promo time. Repod. Have you downloaded Repod yet? I'm looking at you, fellow listener. I am in your ears. Download Repod. Join repod.com/talk of the tundra. I'm begging you. Please. It's an awesome app. Love talking there. Love talking there. Love posting there. Overall, just a great app. Great community. Twitter is breaking again. Broke for me today. Couldn't use it. Went to Repod. Putzed around a little bit. joinrepod.com/talk of the tundra. Go do it. GSPN side. As always, Jordan himself, Adam McKee, Ty Windish, Rohan Kadi, bring you the latest and greatest of Bucks news. I think we announced it last time, but in case you haven't seen it, the Bucks finally announced Adrian Griffin to the organization, and with some new news coming out about Chris Middleton having surgery on his, I believe, knee. This is like cleanup surgery, if I'm not mistaken, as well as Bradley Beal news and the possibility that he might be traded to the Bucks. They're kind of looming in the rafters, trying to swoop down like Sting, just pick up Bradley Beal. So go listen to the Eurostep feed, Win in 6, all of the great Bucks feeds we have here at GSPN. Go check them out. Cruising for a bruising. The Brewers continually make me want to be very sad. But the Cruising for a Bruising hosts, Andrew Snyder and Adam McGee, make me so happy. They're just so good about talking about Brewers and articulating my angry feelings at Craig Counsell, at Mark Antanasio, that fucking worm, and other players that proceed to hurt my feelings. So yeah, go check out Cruising for a Bruising. They have the Master Brewer leaderboard talking about the wonderful players of the Brewers and how many beers they're earning throughout their play. Shout out Christian Yelich, had a good series against the Twins. Other players couldn't help him out, sadly, but he had a good series, a little two-gamer. But yeah, go check out Cruising for a Bruising. Good stuff over there in that feed. Lastly, make time for this. Also a pod hosted by Andrew Snyder and Mr. Adam McGee. This is the sound of me vamping, so I can go look at what their last episode was, because if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it was something along the lines of Paul Thomas Anderson, but I'm not sure if that's right. Paul Schrader. I had the first name right, listener. I had the first name right. Surprising. This is the title of the pod. Paul Schrader surprises with controversial yet tender Master Gardener, plus the legacy of his Man in a Room trilogy. They're just smart. They just know film and cinema. So, plus, if I'm not mistaken, The Bear comes out
Next Thursday.
June
22nd.
22nd, which means yours truly and probably Jordan as well will be hopping on Make Time for This to talk about the Bear and its new season 2. So, all right, everybody, gspn.info for all of those pods, all that good stuff. Go drop me a follow on Twitter at Numac is known. Go follow Jordan on Twitter at Jordan Tresky. Go follow the new GSPN Instagram. Watch GSPN. Ty's doing a lot of great work posting over there. Some polls, a bunch of Bucks news, other Packers Emperor stuff as well. So go follow some social media. Go buy some merch. Buy some merch. We love a merch thing. Drop and rate a review, 5 stars. We love it. That's it, folks. Jordan, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
And listener, thank you for listening.